Night 4, mid-January. The grid has been down for 96 hours, and the temperature inside your house has been falling faster than you expected, faster than anyone online ever warned you it could. You're in your living room right now, zipped inside a 20-degree rated sleeping bag you bought after watching multiple gear reviews, the kind with confident voices and clean thumbnails that promised peace of mind. You're wearing everything they told you to wear: thermal base layer tight against your skin, fleece mid-layer trapping warmth, wool socks pulled high, a beanie covering your head because heat loss through the scalp is something you read about. You even pitched a small tent inside your living room because several prepper blogs said it creates a microclimate, a pocket of trapped air that would supposedly boost insulation. Blankets are piled on top of the sleeping bag. The setup looks right. It looks prepared. You followed the checklist exactly as written. You didn't improvise. You didn't cut corners. You bought the right items, watched the right videos, trusted the advice. You are doing what preparedness culture told you to do when the heat dies and winter decides whether you get to see spring. There is no panic yet. There is no fear yet. There is only the quiet confidence that comes from believing you did everything correctly. Hour 1 after sunset. The indoor thermometer reads 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and you feel fine. More than fine, actually. Comfortable. Warm enough that the sleeping bag feels almost excessive, like armor worn before a battle that never comes. You lie there listening to the distant quiet of a neighborhood without power. No furnace hum, no refrigerator buzz, no background noise of civilization doing its work for you. This is what preparation feels like, you think. This is the payoff. All the research, the expense, the hours spent comparing products and reading reviews suddenly feel justified. You remember people online saying most people panic too early, waste energy, make bad decisions. You're not like that. You planned. You waited. You're insulated. You even feel a small sense of pride, a calm satisfaction that settles into your chest as you adjust the blankets and zip the bag higher. You think to yourself, without irony, without doubt, I've got this. I'm prepared. Outside, the night deepens. Inside, the air slowly begins to change in ways you don't notice yet. Heat is leaving the room, bleeding away into the cold. But right now, you're still ahead of it. Right now, the illusion holds. Confidence feels exactly like safety when you don't yet understand what's happening underneath you. Hour 6. The thermometer on the far wall reads 52 degrees now, and this is the moment when something shifts. Subtle at first, almost easy to dismiss. The cold doesn't arrive like a shock. It seeps in quietly, threading itself through the layers you're wearing, finding gaps you didn't know existed. Your shoulders tense. Your feet feel distant, like they're no longer fully connected to the rest of you. Still, you're not alarmed. You remember the rating on the sleeping bag clearly: 20 degrees, printed in bold, reassuring numbers. 20. You do the math again in your head, slow and deliberate, the way someone does math when they want to be certain they're right. 52 minus 20 leaves a comfortable margin. 28 degrees of buffer. That's not close. That's not danger. That's safety. You reach for another blanket and drape it over the bag, not because you're scared, but because you're careful, because that's what smart people do. You tell yourself this is normal. That cold always feels sharper in the early hours before your body settles in. You shift slightly, tuck your chin down, cinch the drawstring a bit tighter. The tent rustles faintly as you move, the thin fabric whispering as air circulates inside. You feel a small shiver pass through you and dismiss it instantly. That's just your body adjusting. That's metabolism responding. Everything you read said shivering is good, a sign your system is working. You're still confident. You're still certain the plan is holding. What you don't notice is that the room itself has crossed a threshold, that the rate of heat loss has quietly overtaken the assumptions you built this setup on, and that from this point forward, the math you trust is no longer working in your favor. Hour 12. 41 degrees inside. The cold is no longer subtle, and pretending otherwise takes effort you're starting to feel in your bones. The shivering has intensified into something constant, mechanical, no longer something that comes and goes, but something that owns your body completely. Your muscles contract and release in violent, rhythmic waves you cannot stop, your jaw clenching hard enough that your teeth chatter despite your attempts to control it. Sleep is impossible now. Not because you aren't exhausted, you are profoundly, deeply tired, but because your nervous system will not allow rest. This isn't conscious behavior. This is autonomic, ancient. Somewhere deep in your brainstem, a circuit designed long before houses and sleeping bags has decided you are losing ground, and it has taken over. Your muscles are burning fuel at an unsustainable rate, converting glycogen into heat as fast as biology allows, turning your body into a desperate furnace. The shaking hurts. It drains you. Your shoulders ache. Your legs tremble uncontrollably, and every attempt to relax only makes it worse. You try to slow your breathing, to calm yourself, but the shivering continues, indifferent to your intentions. Confusion creeps in alongside the cold, a low-level irritation that something isn't lining up with what you were promised. The bag is rated for 20 degrees. You're nowhere near that. The tent is supposed to help. The blankets are stacked thick. This shouldn't be happening. You pull the hood tighter until it presses against your face and curl inward, trying to make yourself smaller, trying to conserve something you can feel slipping away. Around you, the room is silent except for the sound of fabric shifting and the faint rasp of your breath, each exhale fogging briefly in the air before vanishing, carrying heat with it every single time. Hour 18, 38 degrees inside. At some point, without any clear boundary or announcement, the shivering stops. You don't register it immediately. Your thoughts are slow now, heavy, like they're moving through syrup, and it takes a moment for the absence to stand out. When it does, there's a brief flicker of relief. The shaking was exhausting, painful even, and the stillness feels almost merciful. Your muscles loosen. Your breathing slows. For a few seconds, you think maybe this is the turning point, that your body has finally adapted. But beneath that surface relief, something colder and quieter is happening. The shivering didn't stop because you're warm enough. It stopped because your muscles no longer have the fuel to continue. The glycogen reserves that powered those violent contractions are depleted, burned through hour by hour in a losing effort to keep your core temperature up. This is what failure looks like in real time. Not drama, not panic, just systems shutting down in the background. Your thinking degrades further. Simple cause and effect becomes difficult to track. You struggle to remember when you last moved, when you last adjusted the blankets. The world narrows to the interior of the sleeping bag, to the pressure of fabric against your skin, to the strange sense that you're drifting rather than lying still. A dull sadness settles over you, paired with a growing detachment, as if the cold is no longer something happening to you but something you're slowly becoming part of. The tent above you sags slightly, its thin walls rimed with frost, and the ground beneath continues to draw heat from your body without resistance, an invisible drain you never accounted for. Somewhere, a rational voice tries to surface, tries to tell you this isn't normal, that the absence of shivering is dangerous. But it's faint now, drowned out by fatigue, confusion, and the creeping quiet of a body running out of options. Your judgment is failing now, though you don't experience it as failure. It feels more like a soft distortion, a subtle warping of reality that makes wrong ideas feel reasonable, and reasonable ideas feel distant. Your thoughts lose their edges. They blur together, disconnected from cause and consequence. You have the strange, persistent idea that maybe you should unzip the bag for a moment, just to breathe, just to relieve the pressure you suddenly feel in your chest. The zipper feels restrictive now, suffocating, as if the problem is confinement rather than cold. Another thought follows, equally illogical but oddly persuasive. Maybe going outside would help. Maybe there's warmer air somewhere else, some sheltered corner you missed. It doesn't make sense, not if you were thinking clearly, but clarity is gone. Hypothermia doesn't announce itself as danger, it disguises itself as relief. A false warmth begins to spread through your torso, dull and heavy, almost comforting, like the first moments of sinking into a hot bath. Your limbs feel clumsy, distant, harder to command. Coordination slips. Fine motor control fades. You fumble with the fabric near your chest, fingers slow and uncooperative, struggling to do something you can't quite articulate anymore. Tears well in your eyes, not from emotion alone, but from the cold itself, the air burning against exposed moisture, lashes stiffening as they freeze. You hug yourself tighter inside the sleeping bag, arms crossed awkwardly over your chest, trying instinctively to trap what little heat remains. Your face settles into an expression of exhaustion and quiet despair, eyes half-lidded, unfocused, staring at nothing. The world has narrowed to sensation without interpretation, discomfort without urgency. Somewhere deep inside, alarms are sounding, but the systems responsible for hearing them are already shutting down, one function at a time, in the dark, without ceremony. Hour 24 approaches without you noticing the passage of time. Time itself has become meaningless, broken into indistinct fragments that drift past without structure. The cold is no longer something you actively feel. It has settled into you, pervasive and dull, like a weight pressing inward from all directions. Your breathing is shallow now, slow, each inhale a conscious effort, each exhale leaving a faint cloud that lingers longer than it should before dissolving. Your thoughts no longer form complete sentences. They arrive as impressions, half ideas that fade before you can examine them. You are aware dimly that something is wrong, but the concept of urgency has evaporated. The sleeping bag feels heavy, oppressive, and you struggle weakly against it, shrugging one shoulder free, then an arm, the movement clumsy and poorly coordinated. You don't know why you're doing this. It simply feels necessary. Tears spill freely now, streaking down your face, freezing against your feathers, your eyes glassy and unfocused. Your body curls inward again, arms wrapping around your torso in a futile attempt at warmth. But there is no strength left in the gesture. The tent above you sags further, partially collapsing as frost stiffens the fabric, its weight resting against your shoulder without you reacting. Outside, the night remains indifferent, the temperature unchanged, the cold patient and absolute. Inside, your core temperature continues to fall, crossing thresholds your body can no longer defend against. You are profoundly tired, more tired than you have ever been in your life, and the idea of sleep feels comforting now, inviting, almost peaceful. Resistance seems unnecessary. The struggle that consumed you hours ago has faded, replaced by a quiet surrender that feels, in this moment, like relief. Morning comes without ceremony. Pale winter light filters weakly through the broken window, illuminating the room in a flat, colorless glow that reveals the disorder you no longer had the strength to notice. The tent is partially collapsed now, its thin frame bent inward, blankets tangled and uneven where they slid during the night. You are still inside the sleeping bag, still wrapped in most of your layers, though one arm hangs limply outside the insulation, the sleeve half removed as if you were interrupted mid-motion. Your face is slack, expressionless, eyes closed, tears frozen along the edges of your lashes and streaked faintly down your cheeks. When they find you, there is no urgency in their movements, only procedure. They already know. Your skin is cold to the touch, waxen, unresponsive. When your core temperature is measured out of protocol rather than hope, it reads 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Normal is 98.6. You cross the line where the heart's electrical system becomes unstable hours ago, where rhythm gives way to chaos. Sometime around 0300, while the house stood silent and the neighborhood slept in darkness, a lethal arrhythmia ended what your body could no longer sustain. The official cause of death will be listed as hypothermia. The location will be listed as inside your own home. There will be no mention of sleeping bag ratings or prepper checklists on the form. No acknowledgement of the research you did or the money you spent. Only the clinical summary of a biological system that failed to maintain temperature in an environment that no longer forgave mistakes. You froze to death surrounded by gear that was supposed to prevent exactly this outcome. He had the gear. That part is undeniable. He followed the advice exactly as it was given, watched the videos, read the blog posts, compared the charts, trusted the ratings printed in bold on the packaging. He checked every box that modern preparedness culture tells you to check. Sleeping bag rated for extreme cold, proper layers, indoor shelter, redundancy. He did what people online call being ready, and yet none of it mattered when the heat actually started leaving his body faster than it could be replaced. Not one of those sources explained the reality he was up against. Nobody told him that the ground beneath him was a massive thermal reservoir, a heat sink with effectively infinite capacity compared to his own body, silently pulling warmth away hour after hour. Nobody emphasized that insulation only works by trapping still air, and that even minor air movement inside a tent becomes a conveyor belt carrying heat away. Nobody explained that sleeping bag temperature ratings are not promises of comfort or safety, but survival thresholds measured under laboratory assumptions that collapse the moment you introduce moisture, pressure, compression, or contact with a cold surface. The advice focused on products, not principles, on what to buy, not what to understand. It treated cold as an inconvenience rather than a physical system governed by immutable laws. He believed that having the right gear meant the equation was solved, that preparation was a checklist rather than an analysis. That belief didn't just fail to save him, it actively worked against him by giving him confidence when he should have been questioning his setup, by convincing him that discomfort was acceptable because the math on the label said he was safe. The cold didn't care about any of that. Physics never does. If you don't understand thermodynamics, not as an abstract science, but as the physical laws governing every second of your existence, then winter preparation is nothing more than an expensive countdown. This isn't about fear or fairness, or whether you tried hard enough. The universe does not care about your intentions. Heat flows from hot to cold, always, without exception, and you are a heat engine operating in an environment designed to drain you until equilibrium is reached. Your survival depends on one thing only: whether the heat your body generates can keep pace with the heat it loses. That loss happens through four mechanisms, and four only: conduction into the ground beneath you, convection as air moves past your skin, radiation bleeding invisibly into the environment, and evaporation pulling energy away with every trace of moisture. Miss even one of them, misunderstand even one, and the equation turns against you. Gear doesn't change that. Checklists don't change that. Confidence doesn't change that. Most prepper advice fails because it treats cold as a product problem instead of a physics problem, because it teaches people what to buy instead of what to fight. The laws of thermodynamics do not recognize brand names. They do not negotiate. They do not care how prepared you feel. In the cold, survival is math, and math is ruthless.